About the use of foreign aid?
First of all, we shouldn't come at it with the thought, understanding, or framework of its aid. It's an investment. It is a very clear investment in the interest of this country.
Change the name. Stop calling it foreign aid, call it foreign investment.
Call whatever you want. But the mentality of this has to be changed in understanding that we're not just a nation that goes and flies over countries and sprinkles $100 bills and then just sends sacks of oats and meal and corn because we're benevolent people. We are benevolent people. We're the most generous country in the history of man by any measure. But there's something more to it than that it is an investment in stability and security. You mentioned what I said in the book about the real root of terrorism extremism. Many causes of this, as we know, history and culture and religion and tribal differences. But when you really get down under this, it's despair. And every dynamic that's connected to despair, hunger, poverty, lack of dignity, and if you don't address those root causes, you'll never fix the problem, because the problem, first of all, is going to be so big. Is going to be so big, you'll never have the resources to do it. And then the other point I'd make on this, when I talked about the last 50 years, last half of the 20th century, you look around the world today and you identify the troubled spots of the world. These are the spots in the world that were left behind the last 50 years. They didn't benefit from the great strides for mankind that were made in medicine, and in science, and in education, in individual liberty, and jobs and opportunities in education. Africa, much of Latin America, certainly the Middle East, Central Asia, North Korea. But we've got to change the frame of reference into the 21st century and be far wiser in how we use our dollars and our program. History is very clear on this point. Every event in the history of man has been dominated by the human condition. And if you don't deal with the human condition, we know what's going to happen.
Hey, what do you say to the Nebraska farmer who comes to you and says, what are we doing building roads and schools and all these wonderful sounding things in Africa when we have such need in our own country?
I've never had any particular problem making the case to Nebraskans, because obviously we're much enlightened, but
that's why people live in Nebraska.
The reason that I've never had a problem with it, and I don't think Nebraska is particularly unique this way, is that the self-interests of Americans, if people are paying attention and thinking, are clearly identified by not just stability and security in the world, meaning that gives more opportunities for markets opening up. Nebraska is a good example, a little state, agriculture state. Nebraska's economy, whether you're a farmer or you're a small town banker or whether you're in the insurance business in Omaha, knows that opportunities to sell Nebraska's grain and beef and small equipment machinery is enhanced when more markets open up around the world, and we can invest in some of these areas. And as Africa opens up, China opens up, Indonesia, so on and so on, that allows us to prosper too.
Should we be spending more money on foreign assistance? You know, the percentage, the foreign assistance budget is less than 1.5% of our total budget. Mm-hmm. We would spend the equivalent of that entire budget in 3 months in the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan.
It's where you put your priorities and where you place your resources. And so, in the case you mentioned, we're spending $13 billion a month in Iraq. We're ruining our Army, ruining our Marines, taking great casualties, and so on and so on, undermining our interests. So Americans are finally to the point they're saying, measure this by any poll, well, wait a minute, what are we getting out of this? Where's this going? What are we doing? And by the way, I'm not a pacifist, and I'm one who always voted for a strong military, always will, absolutely critical to a great power. That isn't the issue. The issue is wise use of your power, responsible use of your power, and wise application of your resources. There's the difference. If we could take what I saw the military doing in West Africa, just as the example I gave,
The humanitarian
the
work.
humanitarian.
Reconstruction.
They were changing people's lives. People were connecting.
Were
with
they
them.
changing their hearts and minds?
Absolutely.
You saw that?
Oh, absolutely.
How
can it not?
Well, do people actually say things?
Sure they do. I hear it everywhere I go, and we've got these different things going, projects and foreign aid. We're investing in the future. We're investing in these young kids. When they see somebody coming in and building a new school or a sewer system or a dike or whatever it is, they see that very clearly, as American children would see that. They connect that with good. They connect that with possibility their lives are better. Maybe they might even be able to go to school these days.